Thank you, and welcome. Tonight I want to explore how we ride the waves of change and stay aligned to our higher self. And it's particularly pertinent that we're talking about this today, about tuning to our soul, because we're right on, in fact, half an hour away from the Virgo full moon zenith. And the Virgo principle is to bring the Christ principle or the soul into manifestation. And we're also a little while away from an eclipse, which just intensifies the energies of Virgo. So a very auspicious time energetically. So much has been written about this pivotal time of change and transition that we're experiencing right now. A crucial point in the evolution of humankind and our planet. There is suggestion that our planet is moving into a higher dimension, as increasing numbers of people wake up from their dreamlike state of believing that reality is confined to material existence. Many are awakening to an awareness that there's a deeper dimension to life and far more than we simply sense. There is evidence of disruption and change in our planet Earth. The Schumann resonance, which measures the vibrational frequency of the Earth, has been fluctuating and increasing in recent months after being steady since the 1960s. Earth's magnetic pole has shifted, and we are experiencing increasing solar flare activity, aurora and volcanic activity, with the resulting wildfires, droughts, tsunamis, and floods. Many dispute whether we can attribute these to natural cycles or climate change or our environmental impact. But what if there are deeper esoteric influences at work? Are these physical changes a reflection of changes on higher levels of our collective consciousness, akin to a mass awakening of humanity? We know and understand the esoteric axiom, as above, so below. Many believe this to be so, and that planet Earth may be approaching a major initiation, and we are key players in that process. Many sensitive individuals can sense an underlying awareness of something big happening, a shift in energies, almost a heightened energy. Something to ponder. There's speculation that there's occurring a transference from the planetary solar plexus up into the planetary heart center. Whatever the reasons, we find ourselves in a time of daunting changes in our physical environment, as well as challenges in our social, political, and economic environment. As if all that needs redeeming in the human condition is coming to the surface. The world is indeed a dark place when viewed in simply material terms, and many are overwhelmed and even falling into despair. In esoteric terms, though, we question, is the angel of the presence indeed facing our collective dweller on the threshold, and the battle has begun for the minds of men? Are we witnessing the necessary destruction of old beliefs and structures that no longer serve us to make way for potential new ways of thinking, understanding, and living on our planet? Certainly, through all this upheaval, we are challenged to hold our center, remain calm, and stay grounded. With change comes uncertainty, and with constant escalating change, uncertainty is heightened until we can become overwhelmed by feelings of fear, doubt, and even panic that threaten to destabilize even the strongest minds. Now more than ever, it is important that we remain aligned to our higher self and not be pulled into the dualistic power play of the lower minds fighting to preserve the status quo. We need to embrace this change, knowing that it is ultimately for all of our highest good, even if we can't understand or see that at the moment. We have to trust the evolutionary process, the evolution of consciousness in the human kingdom and for our planet. And this is how we personally navigate this time of change and how we play our part as key points of light or lighthouses to help those who despair of the darkness that threatens to overwhelm. So those of us who have a bit more esoteric knowledge, the hidden knowledge underneath what appears on the surface, we have a responsibility to help those who don't have a clue what's happening and just see what's on the news and just see all the awful things in the world and fall into despair. So why is it so important that each of us stays soul aware and aligned? We know from the theosophical teachings of Blavatsky, confirmed by Einstein, Tesla, and other scientific minds, that everything in the universe is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. All living things, from insects to galaxies, are part of a unified, whole, connected system. It's no coincidence that Virgo rules the unified, energetic field. We understand that which appears solid as matter, like the chair you're sitting on or our physical bodies. This is energy vibrating at a relatively slow vibrational frequency. Now, each of us has a unique physical vibration, and this depends on our health, our well-being, and the quality of prana, or energy, chi, flowing unimpeded to the physical form from our etheric body. Disease is a disruption of this energy flow and occurs when our physical vibration is lowered. So to keep ourselves physically healthy, we need to keep our physical or etheric energy clear and vibrating on as high a level as we can manage. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what you can do. When we look at our emotional body or our astral body, our thoughts or our mental body, these vibrate at different frequencies that are more subtle than the physical. Hence, thoughts and emotions are not physical. Positive, loving emotions and harmless thought raises the vibration of our astral body and our mental body. Fear, doubt, anger, anxiety, and worry all lower these vibrations. And we emanate these vibrations and they're picked up by others. And you know that if you're in a room and a couple of people in that room start negative talk, it lowers the energy of the whole room. It affects everybody. And this is where we have a responsibility. Our soul has its own note or vibrational frequency. And this is on an even higher plane of consciousness and frequency of vibration. So to be attuned to this frequency, we have to seek to lift the vibration, the sum vibration of all of our lower energy bodies or our lower nature through purification and integrating and coordinating these lower bodies. So when we lift our physical vibrational energy, our emotional vibrational energy, and our mental vibrational energy, we have a chance to lift up to the vibrational note or tune into our soul. So if you like, our personalities trying to tune in to our soul. We can think of matter as simply low vibrational soul or spiritual energy. At any given moment, we are the sum total of all of these vibrations. And this gives us an energy signature or an energy note. We radiate this energy signature and attract into our lives events and people of a matching energy vibration to our own. So when we raise these vibrations, not only do we attract better things into our life, but we radiate a higher quality, a higher vibrational energy, and this serves the whole and helps others. And I'll explain a bit more about how that works. So when you regularly move the physical body and you eat organic, healthy, chemical-free foods, drink clean, chemical-free water, you raise the vibration of your physical body. Disease processes, inflammation, poor dietary choices, and a toxic chemical environment. And that's not just the chemical environment, it can be an electromagnetic environment, all lower the body's vibrational frequency. So we can often make choices to embark on things that keep our physical body vibration as high as we can. A heart, when we talk about our emotional or astral body, a heart that is open and aligned with the energy of love, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, and joy raises our astral vibration. Conversely, negative emotions like stress and fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, anger, jealousy, all radically lower our astral frequencies. So you can see there's a responsibility there in our emotional nature as to what we're giving out into the world, how we're responding to others. We can choose to react from an unconscious program in our mind that is unhealed trauma, perhaps from the past, or we can pause. We can use our discriminative mind to step back from that emotionally charged situation, and there's an opportunity for a different response, a response of a higher vibrational frequency, a response that does no harm and recognizes that we and the other are one. So positive thoughts of compassion, goodwill, inspiration, illumination, and understanding all raise the vibration of our lower mind, so our mental body. Through spiritual practice, we can lift our lower mind to resonate with the frequencies of our higher mind emanating from our soul. So we could call this tuning to our soul or making soul contact. Now, this protects us when we do this, when we lift up to the highest frequency and seek that alignment, that attunement with our soul. It protects us from the influence of the negative thought forms of others, and especially the thought forms that are in the collective. Because the collective thought forms, especially at the moment with all the fear and the worry and the overwhelm and the negative news that people are being sort of bombarded with every day, that's lowering the vibrational energy of most people's mental bodies. And so because we are energetic beings and we're all connected on an energetic level, we are affected by other people's physical, emotional, mental, and hopefully soul vibrational energies. Negative thoughts, especially worry, anxiety, and fear, while lowering our mental level of vibration and the level of consciousness at which we are working from, our mind then becomes vulnerable to manipulation and control. And sadly, this is well known in psychological terms. It's techniques that have been used by dictatorships and regimes in the past, that if you install enough fear in the population, you control the minds of everybody because the vibrational frequency gets so low, everybody's affecting each other. People, instead of caring for their neighbor, they're looking out for their neighbor in a negative way. They're trying to catch out or judge their neighbor. And we saw this, it's an awful thing to say, but Hitler was a master manipulator and controller of the collective consciousness and collective minds. And so we understand that this can happen. If you choose to raise your vibration, you protect yourself. You're not so vulnerable to these psychological effects. And it's the same with what's bombarded, what we get through social media, on our phones. There's a lot of negativity. And so you consciously choose, actually, I'm stepping out of this. This is not healthy. We be mindful of our physical diet. We take care with what comes into our physical body, but sometimes we forget to be mindful of our mental diet or our emotional diet. And, a diet full of fear or violence or negative news all the time, it wears us down. It breaks down what's called our spiritual staying power. It undermines our spiritual will, our will to good, our will to God. So soul energy can only pour through all our lower bodies when we have resolved any blockages to this flow. And those blockages are usually emotional or mental. Sometimes they're in the unconscious mind, and their values and beliefs that no longer serve. Perhaps you grew up in your childhood and you picked up some beliefs that really don't serve your highest good. Sometimes it's emotional energy that's from past trauma, can be this life, can be previous lives. It might be something you brought into this life to heal. But these actually block the flow of the etheric energy to the physical body, and this is how emotions and mindset can create disease processes. But they also stop the soul energy. It's like the soul's trying to broadcast and it can't get through because there's too much blockage. The system is sluggish and stagnant. And there's also, this is part of the process of building that antakarana bridge to the higher self, is to clear out what's in the way so that that bridge is clear and open. And the messages coming through the intuition from the Buddhic plane, from the soul, are clear. They're illuminating, they're inspiring, and they come like a flash, wow, of complete understanding. So this is the path of spiritual development, a process of creating an ever better vehicle, physical vehicle, personality vehicle for soul expression. We're attuning to our soul. I think of it like, if my soul is on a rotation like this, it's coming into a beautiful harmony with your soul, and it makes everything simple and clear. When these two are out of sync, it's hard to know what's true, what's clear, and it's hard to find your inner core and your inner peace and your inner strength. So a process of realization of the soul as our true nature and our true essence. This is really what spiritual development and practicing theosophical teachings is all about. It's realizing that we are in essence a soul. We are a being of light inhabiting this dense physical body. And we're here to bring more and more of that spiritual energy through us and out into the world, to spiritualize matter, to raise the collective consciousness, to raise this whole planet up to a dimension in which the planet takes this initiation, if that's what is happening. And I believe, many believe it is. When this soul energy or essence pours through all aspects of our being, this, when a person eventually is a clear channel, all the chakras have been opened and are clear and functioning at the perfect vibration to resonate with the soul note, a person is deemed enlightened. They have become their light. They're full of the light of their soul. Or sometimes it's called perfected or fully realized. So this, our lower self, has then become an effective vehicle for soul expression. We have fully attuned to the note of our soul, and the personality ego note just disappears. It no longer plays a role. It's just not there. The soul pours through every thought, every word, every action, every intention. And we stand in sovereignty in the material world, but not of it, recognizing we are a soul playing a role in this world. But it's, this body, this existence is not who we are. So that process of personality integration and coordination is the redemption of all that exists within our being that impedes this soul flow. And sometimes we redeem this through physical illness, because in esoteric healing by Alice Bailey, they talk about disease as purifying the bodies. The disease process can be a purification process that allows more soul energy through. Definitely, it's written that 90% of illness and disease in the human condition is a lack of soul alignment. And that's a difficult one to take responsibility for. A connection to all living beings means we're affected by their energies, as I've said, and this is especially important at the level of thought and emotion, and especially important at this time. We literally absorb the thought energies and emotions of others if we're not centered in our own truth and aligned to our higher self and our soul. And this is really the meaning of spiritual discrimination or spiritual detachment, or the Buddhist teachings of being able to step back and detach and stand in your soul light. But this is how the power of propaganda and what they call social thought engineering that has become really prevalent in our world since we all connected on the internet. And this controls mass thought and belief. And it can be positive. There can be really uplifting things that go round the world really quickly. But it also means that anything negative going on, we hear about it all day, every day, and we hear about it so quickly. And this was never the case. People were never, even during the world wars, they were never bombarded with the amount of negative information that we are bombarded with daily, especially if we spend a lot of time on our phone or on our computers. Recognizing this means we got to take that responsibility for our mental and emotional diet, like we do our physical diet, to maintain this higher mental and emotional vibrational frequency. Now, the key here is meditation. And I'm going to talk more at the end about meditation. But it teaches us to step back and observe and discern the validity of thoughts in our mind. Now, thoughts that pass through our mind are not such a problem. It's the thoughts we hold in our mind, and they develop into beliefs and truths and values. So if a thought passes through, it's like a cloud passing across the clear blue open sky. It's not really a big deal. But if that cloud stays and develops into a huge storm cloud, and we identify as that cloud, and we forget about the clear blue open sky behind the cloud, that's the problem. So meditation gives you that capacity to detach and step back from thoughts and simply observe them. And therefore, the thoughts of the lower mind that come from the collective, a lot of the time, come from all the influential people in your life in the past. You can step back and, does this serve me? Is this true? You can question them. You can question the thoughts in your mind. And this is a beginning to taking back the control of your mental body, taking responsibility for the mental body. And it's the discipline in any form of meditation where you keep bringing the lower mind back to a point of focus, gives you back the control, it disciplines your mind. And then eventually you create the capacity to step back and just watch thoughts coming through and choosing which ones you want to hold in your mind and which ones you think, do you know what, swipe that way. It also develops our capacity for critical thinking and mental discrimination. Because we're making choices about what's going on in our own mind, we're better equipped to make choices about what we're being told outside of us, the information that's coming to us. And this helps us navigate a world that is, most of the news is negative. It helps us to navigate that situation. It also attunes. When we go deep into meditation, we're basically joining our soul's vibration. Okay, we're spending time with our soul. We're attuning to our soul. We do that every day. Every day, maybe we start the day attuned to our soul. So that is going to raise our vibration significantly. Also, starting to observe and becoming self-aware, aware of when we drop into a negative state of fear, when we're reactive, jealousy, anger, hate, comparison, separation, choosing. And when we notice this, we can choose, okay, these are all isolating. This is me separate to everybody else. This is lower vibrational energy. Because at the soul level, we are all connected. So think of the lower vibrational energy is fear, and the higher vibrational energy is love. Love is connection. Fear is simply an absence of connection. It's isolation. This is written in Course in Miracles, profound teachings of how to develop the Christ consciousness within you. And the Christ consciousness is that ability to maintain a state of loving kindness, compassion, and unconditional love, no matter what other people are doing or what's going on in your life. And this was taught in Buddhist teachings. It's how we take care of our emotional diet and develop emotional intelligence or discrimination. By not reacting and having the courage to look at our emotions when they are triggered and think, I'm getting angry about that. Why am I getting angry about that? I take responsibility for that anger. That is something unredeemed and unhealed within my psyche. So instead of that person made me angry, no, wonderful. That person has triggered anger in me, because if I didn't have anger in me, they couldn't trigger it. So then I look at that anger and I look at what needs healing to clear those pathways to attune to my soul. So I'm not blocking the flow of soul energy. And this is a totally different mindset to most people's reactive response to someone else's anger. It's taking responsibility. And when we do this, when we take that responsibility, we can gain knowledge, and it's often intuitive, as to what is within our unconscious mind that's blocking that flow, what's lowering our vibrational frequency. And effectively, we are allowing the light of consciousness to heal and redeem the darker aspects of our emotional nature, our unconscious, to make conscious that which is unconscious. And this raises our overall level of consciousness, which raises our vibrational frequency. So the media, social media, and lower mind-driven power dialogues feed us a continual diet of negativity and fear, obviously lowering our vibrational frequency if we tune into that. There's a growing trend of people actively choosing not to watch or listen to mainstream news channels. And this is a sign of the growing awakening of the collective and humanity, of people taking responsibility and making positive choices about their mental diet. I read an article suggesting Reuters is concerned because their engagement levels were down 40%. So people are not watching the news. They're realizing that it doesn't do them any good. And most of it is slanted and propaganda, and we don't get, we don't get the truth. So this is good news that as a collective, we're taking responsibility and we're starting to act by not supporting, not watching the news. When you raise that vibrational energy of each of your lower bodies, just small choices every day in the habits and patterns of the way you live your life, and you connect regularly to your soul vibration, you protect yourself from the toxicity of the world situation. You observe what's going on, but you don't absorb it. And I'll say that again because that's really important. You observe, like a meditation, you observe what's going on in the world. You still care, you're still aware, but you don't absorb it into your energy field, so it's not pulling you down into that vibration. Whenever there is love, there's a connection to our soul. In the realm of the higher self, we're all connected as a unified whole. Fear isolates and separates us. That's what fear is. And it's an absence of love. It's an absence of the Christ consciousness alive in the heart chakra. The heart chakra closes down, or often it's the solar plexus chakra, closes down in response to fear, and the antakarana cannot flow to the higher self. Now more than ever, we need to remain centered in compassion, not in fear. By connecting with our own inner peace regularly, we radiate this peace out into the world. We become this shining light, this soul-infused light into the world. And this helps to create world peace. It helps to raise the vibration of the collective. This is how we help those who are suffering, those who don't understand these things or haven't woken up yet. Through meditation, we learn to detach from those emotional fears that the world events create in our mind and find the compassion in our heart to act toward positive change. So the analogy I give is, if you have a friend who's in a bad place emotionally, mentally, think of them as, say, being stuck in a hole and they can't get themselves out of the hole. You can jump down into the hole with them, and this is pity, this is being affected by the news, your emotional nature takes on the emotional nature of the person in the hole. Now, they'll feel a little bit better because you're in the hole with them, but now you've got two people stuck in the hole. And we wind up with everybody stuck in the hole. Compassion, or Buddhist compassion, or discrimination, detachment, is standing on the side of the hole and offering a ladder and encouraging that person to climb that ladder themselves so they have the skills to get out of the hole themselves. But you're there, you're supporting, but you're holding your vibrational frequency, because that's what helps them. Jumping into the hole doesn't help them. It just lowers your frequency to their level, and then you're both stuck. And this is what we need to think of the world. For example, when we see awful news about what's going on in Gaza, we can fall into the hole, or we can stand and say, what can I do to help? Can I send money to people on the ground, organizations on the ground? Can I sign petitions? Can I petition my MP? Can we change this country's response to the situation? Can I do a meditation, a deep meditation where I go deep into my soul's energy and envisage peace in that part of the world and see the conflict dissolving and people laying down their arms? These are the things that someone who's standing in compassion, you can still act, you still care, but you're not being pulled into the vibrational frequency of that fear, that negative state. And this is soul work. This is an act of service. By not being pulled into that emotional, that place where you're overwhelmed, by lifting up and having that spiritual will to lift your vibration and having the resilience to do so, the spirit, what we call spiritual staying power. This is service, because every person who does this lifts the collective. So we ask, why does keeping your vibrational energy level high matter on a collective level? And does it make a difference? Quite simply, humanity's level of conscious evolution or collective vibrational frequency is the sum of all of our energies. If you raise your energy, you raise the energy of the collective and contribute positively to the evolutionary process that is heightened at the moment. You play your part in the plan for the evolution of this planet. This is your greatest act of service to humanity. And people don't appreciate this, that this is a huge act of service, is to keep your vibrational energy high so you observe, you don't absorb, and then you're there for others. When they have gone, when they've fallen into the hole, you can be the person on the side helping them out. David Hawkins, in his book, Power and Force, his research on levels of consciousness confirms that individuals vibrating consistently at levels of love and inner peace, Christ consciousness and an open heart, can effectively raise the vibration of millions resonating in the lower levels of anger, fear, and doubt. And Blavatsky talks about this. It's to do with the, if you like, the lower emotions, the negative emotions are dense, they're vibrational, they're difficult. It's really hard. It takes a lot of energy to maintain fear and anger and doubt and anxiety. That's why so many people are exhausted. Whereas the higher vibrational energies of love and peace and forgiveness and compassion, they are lighter. And if you've ever done meditations on loving kindness or compassion, your energy is lighter, your whole being is lighter. And so it takes a lot more energy to maintain the negative energies than it does to lift and move energies. And Blavatsky talked about a few individuals moving energies on the higher planes can affect and negate the dense, darker energies that of the collective dweller. Okay. David Hawkins postulates that 15% of the world resonating from their heart with Christ consciousness can lift the other 85% above a level that threatens our very existence. And this is the only reason we haven't wiped ourselves out. One avatar can save the world and has done so in our history. And this is why when a teacher like the Buddha or the Christ comes into physical manifestation, the level of their vibrational frequency lifts the level of millions because of that light radiating, because they are such a pure being. One enlightened person can raise the vibration. And this is unconsciously. This just happens because we're all connected through energy. For example, Christ's message, "You are the light of the world," teaches us to raise our level of consciousness into the light of our soul and live from this connection. As our light shines, so we evoke the light in others and become a beacon of light in the darkness, as he was. This is why he says, you can be as I am and more. When you shine your light and you are existing on these higher vibrational planes or frequencies, you ignite the light in others, whether they believe it or not, whether they know it or not, you just do. So it's everyone who comes in contact with you, from your pets, from your family, to the person at the checkout counter at the supermarket, to everyone that it's like you can think that you're radiating light through the world just by being your own light. And this is how it works. And this is the greatest service we can do and what's really needed at this time. The Buddha's teachings on the 8 Noble Truths to live harmlessly aligning with right thought, right action, and intention all serve to raise the vibrational frequencies of each of our bodies. Harmlessness purifies each of our lower bodies and helps to align us with soul consciousness. So when you resonate at a vibrational frequency in line with your higher self, you open to the wisdom of the Buddhic plane, the intuitive guidance from your soul that acts as a ballast to navigate the choppy waters of our time. And this is really the theme of Virgo and the Virgo full moon. Any of your blockages will come up around the Virgo full moon, because Virgo is the sign that has the highest expression of the second ray of love wisdom. And so this weekend, here and now, is when you can make some choices. Jupiter is in Cancer at the moment, which is a perfect time for the release of old attachments, things that are blocking your flow of energy and holding you back, past or sentimental, these tendencies. You can use your emotional wisdom to uplift others at this time. So at any given moment, you know, when you are in touch with your soul, you know you are loved, you are guided and supported. And this is simply by developing the capacity to listen to your intuition. And meditation and mindfulness are key. I'm giving a talk, not next Tuesday, the one after, about mindfulness. I'm going a deep dive, much deeper dive into mindfulness and its connection to consciousness, and how just to be present in this moment, to bring your presence, which is the soul energy, into the present moment, redeems that moment. I'm just going to go through some slides where I go into a little bit more detail. Oh, okay. About what we can do practically to hold ourselves steady in the soul light. And the most important thing you can do, and thing that I stress, is meditate daily. And if your mind comes up with reasons why you can't meditate, or you don't have time to meditate or whatever, just meditate anyway. And it only needs to be 10 minutes. It's the regularity, because you're spending time in the vibrational energy of your soul. You're helping to develop this discrimination and discernment so that you can recognize truth has a vibration. And when you open the heart and open to the Buddhic planes, you recognize truth when you hear or see it. There's a match in vibration. It resonates with you. You just know if something is truthful, or you know if there's something about it that isn't truthful. Ego thoughts, the thoughts of the lower mind that come from your unconscious, instead of your mind, your thoughts ruling you, you start to say no to the ones that don't serve you. And instead, you listen to the intuition of your soul rather than your thoughts. The mind becomes, to be honest, if you've meditated for a long time, over many years, the mind quietens down. There aren't the thoughts. And that means there's room for the soul intuition to come through, becomes clear, becomes an open channel. The light of understanding grows and glows within us. It disciplines the lower mind and the emotional nature. It shines the light of consciousness to redeem that which needs healing in our unconscious mind. Often things will come up in meditation that you realize need healing. Meditation, the intuition will reveal our soul path and the unique way we can contribute. It helps us to hold that equanimity and calm in stressful times. It sort of gives us that ballast that we all need. Sorry, I'm trying to work out. The other thing you can do is join meditations, online group meditations, group work, like the full moon meditations. And this is this whole idea that Blavatsky had about energy spent on the spiritual plane has a greater effect than that on the physical plane. So if you want to do real service work, you need to work on spiritual planes. So a person who can move energy on the spiritual plane can counteract numerous energies of selfishness on the physical plane, because so much energy is required to create a selfish thought, as it is of a very dense vibration. An unselfish thought form is of a much lighter vibration and so much easier to move. For this reason, it only takes a few working on the higher planes to protect the world and change the energy and vibration of the mental atmosphere that we live in. So that mental diet of everybody, and even people who don't know about any of this stuff, it would just raise it all. And quite quickly, because energy follows thought, as people's thoughts change, the world as we know it will change to a much brighter, much more positive place. So it's the steady impact of right thought on the human consciousness by trained groups of thinkers. And, when we come together, it's logarithmic. It's not just an adding or a multiplying of our effects. A few like-minded, open-hearted people coming together can change the world. And so doing this regularly, it also keeps you in touch with other people who are working in service in the same way that you are, and maybe teaches you how to do this. And if you want, there's a lot of meditations on my YouTube channel. If you just put my name into YouTube, there's lots of group meditations. There's lots of meditations where you're envisaging the world that we want to live in, where you're working on higher planes, if you want to go there for a start. And then look at, you can always contact me. There's lots of groups you can join. The other thing is to live harmlessly in speech, thought, and action. And this is really hard to do, but it's really, if you're serious about spiritual development, this is toward enlightenment, becoming full of light. Because when harmlessness cleanses and purifies the chakras, when we start to live this way, it naturally happens when the heart and the throat centers open and align with the higher centers in the head. This naturally happens. It's an emergence of what the Buddhists call thinking in the heart. So it's that combination of love and light that is so powerful. It's a recognition in daily life of the truth of the unity of all life. In Alice Bailey's esoteric psychology, the most potent force in the world today is harmlessness, that positive attitude of mind that thinks no evil. And there's a quote there from Treatise on White Magic: study your daily conduct, your words, your thoughts, so as to make them utterly harmless. Catch yourself when you fall into patterns of judgment and criticism, or making assumptions about people, or taking things personally. Study your emotional effect on others, so that by no mood, no depression, no emotional, you don't harm another. I love this quote, so I'll give you a moment to read it. Comes from A Course in Miracles, which is essentially all about developing the Christ consciousness within you. So just to finish, to ride the waves of change our world is experiencing, we need to have the courage to let go of the habits and patterns in our life that lower our vibrational frequency, and embrace those that raise us up into soul consciousness. Turn off the news, step back from fear-inducing people and those who focus on the negativity. Get out in nature and ground yourself in her beauty, truth, and goodness. Cultivate gratitude for all that is good in your life, the simple things. Foster connection, not separation. Compassion, not judgment. Use your mental discrimination to ascertain truth. Look after your physical body and release the blockages of your etheric, astral, and mental bodies as you become aware of them through meditation, yoga, qigong, tai chi, or other energy liberating practices. Be aware that energy follows thought, so mind your thoughts. You're creating the world that you live in through your thoughts. Be aware that thoughts create reality, so choose the good ones to hold in your mind and let the others pass through, observed but not absorbed. The world needs people with spiritual staying power who choose to remain steady in the light of their higher self and not be overwhelmed by the immense challenges and changes we are experiencing. Those who master this quality through their own experience set an example to others and can reach out a helping hand to people overwhelmed or paralyzed by fear. We need to detach and see the world situation from a soul perspective. Everything is always happening for the highest good, even what we're experiencing now. It's a purifying, cleansing transition time. Become the observer of the necessary challenges that conscious evolution invokes on a personal and a collective level. Visualize in meditation the world as you would like it to be. A world based on love, compassion, and connection, where we find a way to live in peace and harmony with each other and all the creatures, all the beings, all the energy beings who share our beautiful planet. This is a shift worth navigating the storm for. Thank you.